1914 was when Nigeria became one country, but that oneness was soon to be put to test with a coup d'etat which brought the military into power in 1966. Not many of those first-generation officers are alive today, but one of the key players, General Yakubu Gowon, who has just turned 80 years, told young Nigerians at an interactive session on mentorship in Abuja that it's been a tortuous journey.
The coup was in two places, one in Lagos, then another one in Kaduna. I was very busy with the security activity. The political side of it was being taken by the General Officer Commanding, General Ironsi, and some other senior officers. And when they came back, I remember they told me that the acting president had, and the rump of parliament had had told the General Officer Commanding to take charge until he can restore discipline and loyalty in the Nigerian armed forces. And so I asked the officers that were with him, I said, is that so? I asked 3 times. And they said, yes, that is what it is. So at that stage, I said to the general, you have my double loyalty. My thought of saying to return the status quo now would not apply because my, my senior GOC and now my new head of state had been given that authority to become the new head of state and commander-in-chief. So he is now my commander, commander-in-chief, head of state and commander-in-chief. And so that was how the military came to take over the first military regime that we had.
The elder statesman also reveals how hard he tried as the head of state to keep the nation together, remove fear among the regions, and create total patriotic spirit in every citizen.
The next 6 months was a very difficult period. It was a period of anxiety because of what had happened, the coup that took place in Lagos and in Kaduna. And we did everything in order to hold back any reaction. But unfortunately, that reaction could not be stopped any further. And at the end of July, we had another crisis, which cost the life of the General Officer Commanding because of the so much mistrust among the cross-section of the army officers, especially on regional basis. The north and the south. The question of trust because of the loss of many officers that were so dear to the men and women in the armed forces. These young officers decided we do not want anyone to give us leadership but me.
General Yakubu Gowon, the second military head of state who took over from General Ironsi after the July 1966 coup, was responsible for the creation of 12 states in Nigeria. At the moment, he is not involved in politics after leaving office and has continued to offer advice to leaders at different levels of governance, irrespective of their political party.
The term "go on with one nation" brings so many memories about the nation's turbulent period of coup d'etat, the civil war, and how the nation got out of those challenging times. General Yakubu Gowon was a former head of state between 1966 and 1975 through a coup. The man clocks 80 and he reflects on some of the days he was at the helm of affairs and his role in bringing and keeping the nation together. Joining me now to take a look at the Yakubu Gowon, his influences and role. Mr. Zaka Bala, policy analyst, joins us now. Thank you for joining us on Politics Today.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigeria.
To so many people who were alive, who were there then, who saw it all, those were so much of a turbulent period for Nigeria. We saw perhaps the first coup in 1966, and a moment in time within that period of 1966 when General Yakubu Gowon, 1975, we saw a very, very turbulent time in Nigeria's history, the Civil War. Former head of state, as he is, he turns 80 now. He's been described as a true elder statesman. To what extent could this be true?
Well, today when you talk about General Gowon, you know, whom I prefer or I feel comfortable describing as Daddy Gowon, you know, it depends on who you're talking to, and it depends on how he is being dissected. If you talk to somebody who wants to analyze Gowon pre-1970, he has a different impression of Gowon. Between 1970 and 1975, he has a different impression of Gowon. Maybe after 1975 and today, 2014, different people will have different impression of Gowon. But to me, today as a Nigerian, Gowon or Daddy Gowon demonstrates or symbolizes wisdom and clear elder statesmanship. You can see it, you can feel it, and you can experience it from the words of his mouth. There is a saying that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? Gowon spoke in his 30s, when probably some of us were just being born, you know. And he speaks today when I'm in my 40s. In his 30s, I remember Gowon saying, "No victor, no vanquish." That was a simple, common, but pregnant statement. That was in his 30s, though at the helm of affairs of this country. Gowon came up with the 3 R's. Whether they were achievable at the implementation stage or not is left to history and posterity to judge. But the 3 R's then were reconstruction, rehabilitation, and what? Reconciliation. Even in today's Nigeria, with the democratic dispensation in Nigeria, if we take the 3 R's and decide to consciously and judiciously use them and apply them, they will help Nigeria and bring Nigeria out of the woods.
Interesting.